bit of a mad change of scene. So welcome to the first episode of Controversial Conversations with me, Lewis, from Limitless Media UK_. So these are going to be a conversational series where I'm going to ask people what they want me to talk about, and I'm going to talk about it. So we're starting the ball rolling. We're talking about the police versus the car scene. Now, watch this video through. There's some mad points, there's some mad examples, you know, and it's good for everyone to be informed and to be kept up to date with why I think, anyway, the police should not be involved with the car scene whatsoever. So I just want to warn you in this video, if you're easily offended, if you don't like swearing, if you love the police, or you're a police officer, probably won't watch it. Or, you know, and to add, if you're a wet wipe, you know, that's easily offended by anything, you know, don't watch the video. So, you catch me today on a very windy hill with Bristol in the backdrop. Try not to fall off this old abandoned monument. But I digress further. So today's conversation is going to be about why the police and the car scene does not mix at all. So where do we start with this topic? It's an interesting one. So obviously this is my opinion on the situation, so if you don't like it, then don't watch the video. It's not difficult, and it is going to be fairly brutal and said how it should be said. So the police, we're talking specifically about the police that attend car meets, the kind of traffic control officers, DVSA, all that sort of thing, not really general police. Now, I know that in the police there are good and they're bad. We're not here to argue about that today. We're just here to discuss why, in my opinion, car enthusiasts, car scene should not even be bothering with the police. So, I'm going to tell you a little about my experience, just to start off, before we get into the conversation for today. So, I ran a page which I actually began and ran for about 5 years, took it from Dorset under another name to Bristol, and ran that through. Now, up to the kind of last year of leaving it, which was last September, probably even earlier than that, lockdown kind of time, it got very, very, very big. Now, the police began to see my face on that and saw that as a way to target me, with the prime goal to stop me from running meets and events. So, partially, I'm no longer doing events, I'm doing this, talking to you on a hill in Bristol. But the reasons why they did this is because they thought that if they could target me, they could stop the meets, which obviously hasn't worked. But what they did over the space of about a year or two was target and harass me, wait outside my house. They seized cars for no reason. They were giving me harassing phone calls late times at night, and they were getting anything they could use against me to put on me to try and scare me and put me off running meets. So my experience of the police from the offset isn't very good. I've obviously dealt face to face with police when I used to run events, and that also wasn't good. So I've had a few interactions with police which have been fine, but I've always found that within the car meets and car events, when the police are there, you know, it's never a good thing. You know, so just to tell you how bad the targeting was back in the day, obviously the police knew who I was. I knew what car I drove. So I'm chilling one evening, you know, minding my own business, having a good time with some friends, and I had my speaker out, which had my phone on top. Now, you know, earlier in the evening, the speaker had been used for music, obviously. You know, but then, you know, throughout the evening and things, it was turned off. It was just left by my car. Now, some officer, you know, absolute bellend, took it upon himself to basically walk all the way down to my car, to, you know, look at my reg, look around my car, work out that it was mine, and then just decided to basically grab my speaker and my phone and put it in his car. And then obviously when people went over and confronted him saying, you know, what are you doing? He just drove off. Before I could even, I mean, at the time I was helping someone, give them some of the jacks so they could fix their car, but, you know, he just drove off. So I had to walk halfway up, this is in Cheddar Gorge actually, I had to walk halfway up the bastard Cheddar Gorge to go and speak to this fuckwit. And he was telling me that it was found property. You know, A, that hadn't been reported stolen, and B, was blatantly next to my fucking car, and he had my personal phone. But he turned around and said to me that he couldn't give it back to me because it was found property, no one claimed it. You know, when I could prove ownership right now, I could call my phone, I could show him, you know, log into my phone, whatever. I could get a receipt up on my phone to show him proof, like, of, you know, buying the speaker, but this guy's having none of it. He was just a fucking prick, you know. And I think, again, this police, Lewis Taylor, let's target him. And that was exactly what it was. So, you know, they did that, and then, you know, I kicked off fucking massively. He told me to go to Bridgewall. I got down the next day, and I couldn't even collect my stuff. So they fucked me around, they fucked my work around, and, you know, I was fucking irate. I managed to raise the complaint to a higher threshold up there within the police, and, you know, they were then very quickly getting my phone and my speaker back to me. Not that they'd already inconvenienced me enough from the Sunday evening when the meeting was on. So yeah, you know, that's another one. You know, you're a prick, and if you watch these videos, you're a prick, mate. You know, because that was personal, and you know, if the speaker was being used anti-socially, you know, oh, it wasn't even after 11 o'clock, you know, stupid, you know, fair enough, but just to take it because you've got some personal issue with me, because you know you can do it because you're a fucking police officer, is fucking wrong. You know, and a lot of you just sit here and say, you know, Lewis, you're being unfair, you know. You're saying a lot of stuff here about the police, and you know, there's no balance to the argument, but, you know, in my opinion, when it comes to the police in the car scene, there is no argument. They're a fucking joke. And, you know, what they come down and do is just ruin it for everyone else. You know, like, why even fucking bother with them? So, I'm going to give you some prime examples of why we don't, in the car community, work with the police. Now, you know, first of all, from my previous experience, there was a point where I wanted to involve the police with the events I ran, but I found what they were doing was actually stopping the event. So I'd give them the locations on an evening, and they would end up turning up to those locations at the said time, and they would have closed the car parks off or would be blocking the entrances. So obviously once I rebelled against the police, that's when it became more intense for me running the events, which led to me leaving it. So that's the first thing. They're not here to help. The police are not here to help. They'll bend over backwards for any corporations, any companies, but they're not here to help the public, and they definitely are not here to help car enthusiasts. Secondly, we've got you know, the TikTok officer. Never had the privilege to speak to him, unfortunately. I don't know what his name is, but, you know, TikTok PC, you know who I'm on about. So, you know, the biggest snake possibly going in the car scene, you know, acting like he's actively involved, he's actively your friend, you know, when actually he's not. So this PC TikTok guy, he is a tyrant, and he is screwing clubs and screwing people over with his behaviour. So don't ever trust the police when it is about the car community or the car scene, because they have never got any good intentions to heart. Let's be real with that. So, you know, the third example is a recent example. So, I don't know, I forgot the guy's name, I think it's Kev, or I don't know what his name is, that runs the carnage gatherings. Now, obviously, there's not much carnage involved in them, apart from when there is a crash like there was last year. Or the year before, I can't remember exactly. Obviously can't remember because it wasn't that ideal. But yeah, he decided to host a meet, working alongside the police, and lo and behold, guess what happened? The police came down and they fucked everyone up. They came down with DVSA, and they came down and they were not fucking nice. I think, you know, I wasn't there, I don't really know. I did see what went on. A lot of cars were seized, a lot of people were done. A lot of people I've spoken to, you know, and the general consensus of that event is everyone was very upset with the police's attitude towards all the car enthusiasts there. So, you know, to the guy who runs the carnage meets, pull your head out your ass and think about these police officers, because they're not here to help. And obviously I know that, you know, he's been working with PC TikTok, but there we go. You know, when you work with the police, and this is not even a dig at you, I'm just saying to everyone, you know, it's a warning. When you work with the police, it's never in your favour. You know, and it's crazy. You know, we've got, you know, people getting, you know, stabbed and killed. We've got people taking drugs. We've got people doing a variety of things which are, you know, damaging to people's health, damaging to people's lives. You know, and the police would rather come down for easy pickings on a Saturday evening and come down and target motorists that are just down there to enjoy a passion and a hobby of cars. And, you know, those are examples of, you know, the police just fucking people up and fucking up meets. You know, that carnage meet, not that I was there, but looking at the, you know, the photos and videos, it must have been a really good meet. So, you know, fair enough. Probably was a good meet. But it was completely sabotaged. I mean, it was carnage. It was sabotaged by the police. So, you know, hopefully since then, I think I've seen he's done some meets since then, and I think they've been much better. But, you know, that is an example. You know, those are examples of just do not work with them fuckers. So, you know, if anyone wants to ask about, you know, what you do in the instance of police turning up, asking questions, you know, you just say, I haven't got any answers, haven't got anything, you know. That is all you have to say. No comment, walk off. You know, all they're trying to do is use you or whoever they're speaking to gather evidence against who's running the events so they can do it. Now, you know, you might think it's funny dropping someone in who's running the event, but at the end of the day, all you're doing is damaging the car scene and the car community for everyone else by potentially putting a stop or restricting the meets that people can hold. Now, whether some of you will believe that the car meets are kind of illegal car meets are right or wrong, we should not be working with the police to actively stop any part of the car community. And that is enough said on that matter. You actually find in, you know, some instances that a meet has got a good vibe, everyone's having a good time, and then, you know, the police come down, and then all of a sudden, there's this kind of that toxicity in the air, you know, like something's going to happen. Everyone's tense. I've seen it before. Like, here's the mad thing: all of you dull-witted fuckers, listen to me. It is dull-witted, and you're going to look at yourself now and think, yeah, it is dull-witted. You know, when the police turn up to a meet or a location, don't run off. They're just human beings in fancy dress. That is all it is. You don't need to run. You don't need to cry, you don't need to be scared. But, you know, what you've got to bear in mind is when you run away from the meet, you know, first of all, it makes everyone scatter, so it ruins the meet because people don't know where they're going and everyone's all over the place. You know, it encourages panic, and also you're making yourself look bloody guilty, you know, so don't do that shit. Stay at the meet and enjoy it. When the police come, just carry on enjoying the evening. Do you know what? Sometimes you actually find the police will come, they will observe, and they will go. So, you know, when you do all that and you all change location, race off, you know, it's just going to keep them following. So I don't see why people do it. And that was when I used to run meets, and I've also attended meets. You know, I get the camera out on the police car. I don't give a fuck what they have to say or what they have to do. I don't give a shit. You know, I don't let that affect me. And if it does affect you and you do leave the meet, then come on, sort it out, guys. Like, listen to what I'm saying and take it on board, because by doing that, you're just causing more shit. It doesn't need to be there. You know, now sometimes the police will actually come to a meet, and do you know what? There are some officers that have a genuine interest. There's also officers that are fucking clueless. They mostly are anyway, let alone about cars, but mostly fucking clueless. And you also get the ones that are on an ego trip. You know, maybe they've been beaten by someone with a you know, a souped-up Corsa, or you know they've had a bad experience with someone who's a car enthusiast or car meets before. So, you know, with the ones that don't know what's going on, they're just there to attend, and they normally leave. Job done. You know. For the ones that enjoy it, they'll come round and they'll enjoy the night, they'll make conversation, but it won't be about where's the meet going, who's this, who's that. It'll be there just to enjoy the cars and just go around, enjoy the evening. Again, they're normally pleasant and just leave everyone to it. Now, we come on to the third one, which, you know, is the jumped up, I was bullied at school, I don't like Vauxhall courses, I don't like the car scene. You know, we got all those types of officers. Now, do you know what? I would say they're not too common, but unless they're traffic officers, it's a bit different. But I would say, unfortunately, they're not very common in real life. But when it comes to events and car meets, they tend to be. So now it's whether they've had a bad experience, like I've already said, with, you know, the car scene and people that are within the car scene, and that's fair enough. But a lot of them come there with an issue. Now, they're the officers you need to be careful of, you know, because they come down and they will screw you over. So, you know, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is don't be scared of the police. There's nothing to be scared of, unless you are doing illegal things, unless your car is blatantly illegal. You know, I'm discouraging you from running away from the meet, you know, running off as soon as the police turn up, you know, unless you're doing something wrong, you wouldn't be running. You know, and what I'm just saying is, you know, keep engagement with the police as minimal as possible. Don't pretend them where you're going. Don't pretend them your business. Just keep it basic. You know, don't be rude. And just keep it calm. It's mad that, you know, everyone's having a good time, everyone's enjoying the evening, and the police feel the need to come down and potentially impose hostility, violence, make people feel on edge and threatened. Now, you know, what they do a lot of the time is they'll come down and they'll barricade off entrances. Now, you know, I wish I could do that. You know, if I was driving along, yeah, and I saw someone, you know, if I saw Extinction Rebellion, let's say, I don't really disagree or agree with what they do, but let's just say, just trying to think of a circumstance, you know, I'll just pretend I'm not a police officer, but this is the same sort of thing. So I see something I don't like. Now, if I come and block that car park in and block those people in, yeah, that's entrapment, and that's also illegal, and I don't have any right to use my vehicle to block access to publicly accessible land. But because the police, you know, are wearing fancy dress, you know, and, you know, they've got on their head that they're above everyone else, you know, they think it's right to come down and block off the car park because they personally don't agree with what they see. Now, just because you're wearing fancy dress and you're in a police car doesn't mean you've got any more right to block the car park off than I have. Do you know what I mean? Now, I know you can say, because I'm a police officer, it's my job. Yeah, but that's not an excuse. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, if a police officer ever says something to you along the lines of, it's my job, it's what I'm paid to do, that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. You can't sit there and tell me the stuff, potentially things you're doing as a police officer which are immoral, is because you're told to do so. You know, if my boss told me to punch customers just because it's my job, would I do it? No. So how can you sit there and tell me, you use the gutless excuse that it's my job? You need to look at yourself as a human being and think, what the fuck am I doing working as a police officer? But anyway, I digressed a little bit there, but this is just mad. Like, just what gives them, apart from because they're police officers, what gives them the right to come down and block a car park off because they don't agree with something? Now, fair enough, if there's a lot of complaints and things, the police will come down and ask someone to move on and things like that, and there's many ways of them doing that, and that's because there's complaints from the public. But some of the officers just take it upon themselves to come down and ruin the night for everyone else because they're just a cunt. You know, there's that grey-haired fucker from Bristol, old-looking, you know, 5'3", scrawny grey-haired prick. I don't know what he is in Bristol. I think he's pretty high up, or even in Somerset. But yeah, if you're watching, you're a prick, mate. Like, the way you treated me and spoke to me when I was running events and things, you know, and the attitude he had when he was at the meets towards others was just disgraceful, and it's just no need for it. Absolutely no need for it. A, you're not paid to be fucking rude, and B, you know, you're not here to come down and enforce your ego on everyone else. Now, you know, you're going to hear me rant and rave, but it just fucks me off, you know? Like, who the fuck do they think they are? Coming down and getting involved in things that's nothing to do with them. You know, fair enough. If people are doing things that are dangerous or illegal, or you know, if people are doing car meets right next to people's houses, then fair enough. You know, if organisers are organising locations next to people's houses, then they need to sort their lives out, because you should be organising locations as far away from the public as possible so it doesn't cause disturbances. But you know, in the instances where they're coming down just to be assholes for no reason, like, you just don't need to do it. So, to finish off, I do respect the police, and there are some good eggs out there. Now, obviously, the police generally across the board, you know, I don't really have an opinion on. I'm kind of in the middle. I've never really respected the government, especially in the past few years, and obviously the police are a direct attachment to the government. So, you know, my issue with the police tends to be more the government rather than the police. And that's my personal opinion. But I do thank all the officers that do go the extra mile to help people out, the ones that have saved lives and have done good for this country. So this is not a slate in the police, but this is just telling you my opinion as to why the police and the car scene do not mix. And the thing is, this dynamic has been tried to be moulded and shaped over the past few years of me attending meets and running meets and all the rest of it. And, you know, it's never, ever worked. You know, and unfortunately, as much as they think they're a step ahead, you know, the car community is always going to be one step ahead. So that is my opinion, and that is my controversial conversation for today. Put your opinions below, put your thoughts below. I would love to hear them. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll do another post soon asking for subjects for a second episode that I will do